Live and in color from Memorial Stadium in Baltimore, it's 1969 World Series Baseball. As the New York Mets meet the Baltimore Orioles for game number 1. Now to Baltimore, and today's commentators, Kurt Gowdy and Tony Kubek.
We got a real good thing, a real good tape. It's a gorgeous day here in Baltimore, Maryland today. The temperature is 75 degrees. I'm Kurt Gowdy of NBC. This is Bill O'Donnell, the Baltimore Oriole broadcaster. Lindsey Nelson will be with us in New York when we move to Shea Stadium. And down on the field is my Game of the Week sidekick, Tony Kubek. He'll be roaming the stands with interesting guests and sidelights in this series. I think you can just about sum up the 69 World Series as saying, if you pick it on paper, it's the Orioles. They have the best statistics in hitting, in power, lowest staffer and run average. They've made the fewest errors. But the Mets didn't win the National League on paper. On paper, they didn't look as good as the Cardinals and the Cubs. They won it on the field, and that's what they're hoping to do here today. And, of course, the Mets not only have fans now in the New York area, they've become a national team as well. The starting pitchers today, right in back of me, is Tom Seaver, just 24 years old, starting a World Series game in this his third Major League season, and he was the winningest pitcher in the Major Leagues this year. He won 25 games. We have almost opposites here today, young and old, right and left. Mike Cuellar is 32 years old, and he was the winningest left-hander in the majors today as he won 23 ball games. So it's Cuellar for the Orioles, Tom Seaver for the New York Mets. And now let's get over here to Bill O'Donnell for his pregame comments. Bill does an outstanding job of broadcasting for the Baltimore Orioles. Bill?
Thank you very much, Kurt, and it's a delight indeed to join you this afternoon. Kurt used the word opposite in his pregame comments, and actually both these clubs won their pennants in opposite ways. The Orioles, from practically the middle of April, just breezed to the American League pennant. On the other hand, the Mets had to fight their way to win the National League pennant, although they had kind of a breeze winning the National League Championship Series over Atlanta. They had to come from mid-August until mid-September before they finally caught and then went ahead of the Chicago Cubs to win the Eastern Division. Now, as far as the ballpark here at Memorial Stadium is concerned this afternoon, this ballpark really does not favor a hitter any more than it favors a thrower. We have short lines down both left and right, but then the park and the fences break away. As you notice, it is only 309 feet down the left field side. The power alleys break away to between 380 and 390. To dead center field, and that'll be covered, I'm sure, a lot in this ballpark by both Tommy Agee and Paul Blair, it is 410 feet, and the fence out in center measures 7 feet high. As we pan around to the right center field pockets, it is 380 and 390 in the power alleys. And it is the same down the right field side as it was down the left field side, 309 feet. Well, now, let's go downstairs to Tony Kubek.
Thank you, Bill. And Kurt, right at this time, we're waiting for possibly the Vice President of the United States. It's rumored that he may be here today, and he may still come. Pat Nixon is scheduled to be here, David Eisenhower, and, of course, Tricia and Julie Nixon. At this point, the Commissioner of Baseball, Bowie Kuhn, is a room right behind me, behind the Orioles dugout, waiting for the dignitaries to show up, and we hope to bring them to you during the course of this ball game. Right now, let's go back upstairs.
We're going to have the starting lineups introduced. Then we'll have the ceremonial tossing out of the first ball to open the 69 series. It's Tom Seaver warming up in front of the New York Met dugout. And Mike Cuellar just to the side of the Baltimore dugout. The Baltimore Orioles dugout is in back of third, and the visiting or Met dugout is in back of first base. And now we're ready for the player introductions.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Memorial Stadium for the first game of the 1969 World Series. Here are the official lineups. First, the New York Mets. Here is the manager of the New York Mets, number 14, Gil Hodges. Batting first and playing center field, number 20, Tommy Agee. Batting second and playing shortstop, number 3, Bud Harrelson. Batting third and playing left field, number 21, Cleon Jones. Batting fourth and playing first base, number 22, Don Clendenon. Batting fifth and playing right field, number 4, Ron Swoboda. Batting sixth and playing third base, number 5, Ed Charles. Batting seventh and catching for New York, number 15, Jerry Groot. Batting eighth and playing second base, number 6, Al Weiss. Batting ninth and pitching for the Mets this afternoon, number 41, Tom Seaver, who is warming up on the sideline.
And this is the Mets starting lineup. The rest of the coaches and players will be introduced in a group. This is the team that came from 9.5 games behind in mid-August to win the pennant, winning 38 of their last 49 games. They had great pitching, especially in the last 6 weeks. Good fielding. They're second in the National League in fielding. Their hitting was a question mark, but it certainly wasn't during the playoffs in their 3-game sweep against the Atlanta Braves. The New York Mets, the team that used to build a legend on ineptness, which habitually used to lose 100 games, now is a 100-game winner, and a team that has captured the imagination of the entire country.
Number 36, Jerry Guzman. Number 7, Ed Plainville. Number 9, J.C. Washington. Number 43, Jim McAndrew. Number 35, Tuckett McGraw. Number 30, Elvin Ryan. Number 24, Mark Shemsky. Number 42, Ron Taylor.
Now for the Baltimore Orioles. Here is the manager of the Orioles, Earl Wheeler. Batting first and playing left field, Don Buford. Batting second and playing center field, Paul Blair. Batting third and playing right field, Frank Robinson. Batting fourth and playing first base, Boog Powell. Batting fifth and playing third base, Brooks Robinson. Batting sixth, catching for Baltimore, Elrod Hendricks. Batting seventh, I'm playing second base, Dave Johnson. Batting eighth, playing shortstop, Mark Bellinger. Batting ninth and pitching for the Orioles this afternoon, Mike Cuellar, who's warming up on the sideline.
The rest of the Orioles will be introduced now. Baltimore won 109 games during the regular season. That's most since the 1961 Yankees won 109. They just won it going away. They were in first place from early in the season. Beautifully balanced baseball team. They led the American League in pitching and fielding. They were second to the Twins in offense and runs scored. They have a set lineup every day. They platoon only the catchers, and it's almost a team without a weakness.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for our national anthem, which will be played by the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra and will be sung by Mr. Joseph Eubanks, Professor of Music at Morgan State College. This first game of the 1969 World Series is being brought to you from Memorial Stadium as the New York Mets meet the Baltimore Orioles.
1970 is where it all begins.
The bold, bold, bold new world of Chrysler. The bold, bold, bold new world of Chrysler. The bold, 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 the bold, bold, bold new world of Chrysler.
Get into the swing of 70 at your Dodge and Plymouth dealers right now.
Bold, bold, bold new world of Chrysler.
Come and join us.
We pause briefly for station identification. This is We're getting ready now for the ceremonial tossing out of the first pitch. There's Bowie Kuhn, the commissioner of baseball, who is going to throw out the first ball. This is Pat Nixon, is on his right, and the owner, Mrs. Payson, is on the commissioner's left. Mrs. Kuhn is in the box seats along with the commissioner. Mrs. Payson is leaving now. That's Tricia Nixon, also with her mother. We've had all kinds of rumors. First, President Nixon was going to throw out the first ball, then Vice President Agnew, then David Eisenhower, and finally we're down to the first pitch with the Commissioner of Baseball, Bowie Kuhn. David Eisenhower and Mrs. Eisenhower. Julie. Cuellar cannot warm up. He has to wait until this traffic's out of the way. And now he turns aside and starts back to the dugout.
Kurt, normally in intense situations like this, and obviously before the first game of a World Series, in pressure situations, that is, normally Cuellar is not a fellow who is easily disturbed. But I'm sure, as most baseball fans and baseball experts are aware, nothing is more important before a ball game than a pitcher getting that arm warm and also getting ready. And over the last 4 or 5 minutes, Cuellar has not been able to get ready as he would like to get ready.
All right, here's the commissioner who was put in as a temporary commissioner, but who did such an outstanding job that he was signed a long-term, very healthy contract. An articulate, dynamic man who has proven to be a great leader for baseball. There's his pitch to Ellie Hendricks, the catcher of the Orioles. And now one more. Hendricks again. Jerry Grody, the catcher of the Mets, now gets to receive a first pitch to open the '69 World Series. And so the ceremonies are out of the way. We've already had the meeting at home plate among the umpires and the two managers. As the Orioles take the field, here's Bill O'Donnell.
Well, Kurt, if this 1969 World Series has the type of play that both of these clubs were involved in during the 1969 regular season, I'm sure that we're going to see one of the most exciting World Series of all times. We talked earlier about the use of the word opposites. The Orioles, who just had balanced power and balanced pitching strength, both as starters and relievers to win. The Mets, on the other hand, who used good defense, and one day after another, especially late in the season, pitching after pitching after pitching. That's the way they won their flag.
All right, let's set up the Orioles defensively. Boog Powell's at first base. Dave Johnson's at second. Mark Belanger's at shortstop. And Brooks Robinson at third. It's a brilliant infield for the Orioles. In left field, Don Buford. Paul Blair's in center field. And Frank Robinson is the right fielder. Ellie Hendricks will be catching. And Mike Cuellar, 32 years old, the starting pitcher of the '69 series for the Orioles. He throws 5 pitches. His out pitch, or the pitch he likes to use in a jam, especially to right-handers, is a screwball. Born in Cuba, lives now in Puerto Rico. His 13th professional season. His 6th season in the majors. He pitched for Cincinnati, St. Louis, and Houston prior to joining the Orioles this season. It was a great pickup.
The leadoff batter for New York.
Tom Agee, and you'd have to look this up. How many leadoff men in a World Series have ever led their team in runs batted in? Agee led the Mets in RBIs with 76. Hit .271, 26 homers. Good power to center and to right center. The first pitch of the series is a strike. Cuellar pitched last Saturday. And so did Seaver. Seaver usually works with 4 days rest. Cuellar with only 3. Foul back, strike 2. little bit toward left for Agee. 2-strike pitch. Just outside. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Cuellar led the Orioles in complete games and innings pitched, in most victories and in strikeouts. A 1-2 delivery. Ball 2, 2-2. On deck, Bud Harrelson. The 2-2 delivery, 3-2. He had him 2 strikes. Now it's a full count. Trying to bite that outside corner against him. Agee bounced back and had a great year this year. Here's the 3-2 pitch to him. Foul ball. Three and two. Drill down to Robinson at third. On the way, that's a familiar sight here in Baltimore. Brooks Robinson coming up with a ground ball. Voted the greatest all-time player for the Orioles. Hank Soares behind the plate, his 5th World Series of the American League. Frank Sartori at first, his 4th World Series. Larry Knapp of the American League at second, his 4th series. Shag Crawford of the National League at third, his 3rd. Lou DeMuro umpiring his 1st series on the left field line, and Lee Wire, the National League, on the right field line, his 1st World Series. 6 umpires assigned to today's game. Ball 1 to Bud Harrelson. Hit .248. No homers, 24 RBIs. The 1-0 pitch. Inside, ball 2. Harrelson, one of the best defensive shortstops in baseball. Better known for his glove than with his bat. We have 1 out, nobody out. We're in the top of the 1st inning. They're playing Harrelson fairly shallow in the outfield. Slam foul outside third. 2 balls and a strike to Bud Harrelson. Cleon Jones is on deck. The Mets have there's Jones, have their right-handed batters in today. They have 9 right-handed batters in the lineup. They won with left-handers against the Braves, but Gil Hodges platoon. Foul out of play in the count, 2-2. Cuellar, though, is very effective against right-handers with that screwball, isn't he, Bill?
Kurt, there's also some philosophy, at least from some American League managers, that they feel that left-hand hitters handle Cuellar as well as right-hand hitters handle him.
Hit to Robinson again on an easy hop. 2 down. Yogi Berra coaching at first, Eddie Yost at third. Yogi's been in more World Series games, twice as much as all the players combined here in this stadium today.
Number 21, Cleon Jones.
He has been in 75 World Series games, 14 series with the Yankees, of course, where he piled up most of those games. 2 down, and Cleon Jones, the batter, a product of the Met farm system who's developed into a star. It's a strike zone. 3rd leading batter in the National League, hitting .340. 12 homers, 75 RBIs. He can spray the ball around. He's just not a late bloomer. He finished 6th in batting in the National League last year. A little bit high to him. A ball, 1-1. 2 away, bases empty. Top of the 1st. Don Clendenin is on deck. One and 2. Cuellar was consistent right from the opening of the season. One ball, 2 strikes. Let's see if he turns it over to him now. Ground ball out of the reach of Belanger. There's your first hit of the 1969 series. Cleon Jones on first with a single to center.
There's an example, Kurt, of that screwball that Jones tried to get to before he got the base hit up the middle.
Here's Don Clendenin. 248, 16 homers, 51 runs batted in. He didn't play in the series against Atlanta. The right-handed pitcher is going all the way. He started the season with Montreal, was traded to the Mets in mid-June, and he helped the Mets the rest of the way. 1 ball, no strikes. 2 down, Cleon Jones on first. Deep and straight away. Cuellar's move, Jones back. Jones is a good base runner. He stole 16 bases this year out of 24 attempts. One and one to him. Clendenin got hot in September. He hit 7 home runs during that month. Right when they counted. 1 ball, 1 strike. Ball 2. 2 and 1. Is Cuellar sharp with his control today as he usually is, Bill? He's struggling a little. He's 3 and 2, and he's 2 and 2.
Well, the one thing that we haven't seen yet from Cuellar, and he throws it quite a bit, he's got a big rainbow soft curve.
Breaking away from that right-hander. 2 and 2 now.
Kurt, his pitching coach, George Bamberger, has said quite a few times during the season, everybody talks about Cuellar's screwball, but not too many people have talked about what Bamberger feels is a good Cuellar fastball and also that change-up curve.
We were impressed with his fastball against the Twins last Saturday. He was quick with it. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 down. First inning, no score. Clendenin the batter, reaching and fouling it back. Every now and then a slight breeze springs up and is blowing from first to third. Cuellar with his 2-2 pitch to Clendenin. Just got a piece. 2 and 2. On deck, Ron Swoboda. Clendenin's quite an athlete. He was a 12-letter man at Morehouse College. He was offered pro contracts by the football Cleveland Browns, the basketball New York Knicks, the Harlem Globetrotters, and the Pittsburgh Pirates. 3 different professional sports teams seeking his services. The 2-2 delivery. Struck him out, and the Mets were gone in the top of the first. No runs, 1 hit, there were no errors, 1 man left. Middle of the first inning to score. The Mets nothing. The Orioles are coming to bat.
This man seeks inner happiness by suffering. He has given up food, clothing, shelter, but one thing he cannot give up, the Gillette spoiler with the miracle plastic coating that reduces pull. Each day he struggles to deny his face this pleasure and fails. He is in the most tragic sense spoiled. No blade feels like the Gillette spoiler, except the Gillette Injector spoiler. Who are you?
Oh, how you doing, Guy? I'm your neighbor. Oh, didn't I tell you we share the same medicine cabinet? It's a new modern apartment. Hey, I see you got Silver Right Guard, new antiperspirant. Yes, sir. Stop soda, keeps you dry.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I know all about that. I got the regular Right Guard. Yep, 1 shot and I'm good for the whole day.
2 kinds of people, 2 kinds of Right Guard.
Mona!
Now let's set up the Mets defensively. Don Clendenin's at first base. Al Weiss at second. Bud Harrelson to shortstop. Ed Charles is at third. Cleon Jones in left field. Tom Agee in center. Ron Swoboda, the right fielder. Jerry Grody, the catcher. And Tom Seaver, the pitcher. Incidentally, the Mets, famous over the years for giving games away and making mistakes in the field, are a very, very sound defensive team. They finished second in the National League in fielding, and one of the reasons they're in this World Series is because they didn't make too many mistakes in the field during this past season. And there's the winningest pitcher in the Major League this year, 24-year-old Tom Seaver, who won 25 and lost 7. lives in Manhattan Beach, California, born in Fresno. A handsome, articulate, chosen National League Rookie of the Year in '67. Showed outstanding promise then and is developing into one of the real stars of the game. Don Buford hit .291 during the season, 11 homers and 64 RBIs, and he can get on base. Ball one to him. Seaver, a good fastball, hard slider, uses sort of a rolling curve as a changeup. A high drive into deep right. Swoboda backing up, drawing a bead right in front of the wall and can't get it. Buford leads off with a home run. What a way to lead off a World Series.
Kurt, we just had, this is Swoboda. He thought he had enough room, and actually he did have enough room. The height of that fence right there, just to the right of the Mets bullpen, is 7 feet high. The glove will go over the fence. He went up about 9 feet with the glove, and he couldn't get to it.
Paul Blair, big strike one. Blair hit .285, had a slump in the last month of the season. 26 homers, 76 RBIs, goes after a curve, strike two. He hit over 300 most. What a way to lead off a World Series.
Kurt, we just had, this is Swoboda. He thought he had enough room, and actually he did have enough room. The height of that fence right there, just to the right of the Mets bullpen, is 7 feet high. The glove will go over the fence. He went up about 9 feet with the glove, and he couldn't get to it.
Paul Blair, big strike one. Blair hit .285, had a slump in the last month of the season. 26 homers, 76 RBIs, goes after a curve, strike two. He hit over 300 most of the year and then slumped off.
Kurt, actually a little bit unusual for Seaver to give up a home run. In better than 200 innings, he only gave up 24 home run pitches during the regular year.
Foul, 0-2. Blair was telling us today he was taking his head off the ball. As he was swinging, he was jerking his head away, not keeping his head down and eyes on the ball, and he cured this in the playoffs, popped the curve back. And he got 5 hits in that third playoff game against the Twins. Frank Robinson on deck. It's the first time in his career he ever had 5 hits in a game. 2 strikes. Nobody on, nobody out. Baltimore ahead, 1-0. 1-2. Despite that late season slump, Blair led the Orioles in base hits and in stolen bases.
Kurt, right now Seaver's leaning a little bit more on that breaking stuff of his rather than his best equipment, which is supposed to be that good hard fastball. But there was a fastball.
1 out. George Stoller coaching at first for the Orioles and Billy Hunter at third. Frank Robinson, the judge. Hit .308 for the year, 32 homers, 100 RBIs. Foul back. I'll say one thing, Robinson's been consistent. A lifetime average in the National League of .303. And a lifetime average in the American League of .303. The only man who's ever been the most valuable player in both leagues. A 1-strike pitch to him by Tom Seaver. Foul back. 0-2. Boog Powell is on deck. The Orioles have 1 out, nobody on. And they're leading 1-0. The 2-strike pitch. 1-2. Seaver is a young pitcher with command. That is, he commands his pitches. A lot of young fellows have good stuff, but can't command them. Seaver can. Curve is beat foul. Billy Hunter, a former outstanding shortstop, making a stab down there. One ball, 2 strikes to Frank Robinson. The outfield deep in the step toward left. Struck him out on a high fastball. This game is authorized under television rights granted by Major League Baseball for the entertainment of our audience, and any publication, reproduction, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the Commissioner of Baseball is prohibited. Well, if you're new to Boog Powell and the Orioles, when you heard that Boog, no booing, they're just yelling out his nickname. Right, Seaver is firing now. He has that riding fastball that rises, and when you sit in the dugout, the ball players say it walks. It just takes off on you. Powell hit .304, 37 homers, 121 RBI. There's his curve. 1 ball, 1 strike to Powell. A 1-1 pitch. Fastball, 1-2. Powell's been with the Orioles 8 years, and he's just 27. Has one of the smoothest swings in baseball. Power to left center, and he can pull the ball to right. Here's the 1-2 pitch to Boog Powell. 2-2. They're playing him to hit to right center or to right. 2 down, bases empty. Base hit to right by Powell. Ron Swoboda up. Back into Al Weiss. 2 down, Powell on first.
We see the power now of Powell coming right with the ball about belt high and a little bit on the inside corner. This is where Powell normally likes the ball, belt high and just over the inside corner of the plate. Most pitchers try to keep the ball away and down on Powell, but he got that ball belt high and belted it for the base knock.
Brooks Robinson hit .234, a subpar year for him in batting average. Fly ball to center field. Ranging back is A.G. right on the warning pass for the out. Robinson hit that a long way to straightaway center to retire the side. The Orioles had 1 run, 2 hits, there were no errors, and 1 left. And at the end of the first inning, the score, Baltimore 1 and New York nothing.
If you don't have a personal checking account at the Bank of Commerce, here's what you're missing out on. A wallet like this, embossed in gold. A checkbook, your own personal checkbook to go inside it. A little book that lets you keep an up-to-date record of your account instantly. At the end of the month, you automatically receive a statement showing everything you've spent. And just to show you where you spent it, the Commerce mails back your canceled checks. A Commerce personal checking account is the most convenient way there is to run your family's finances. And believe me, running a family can be a big business.
Annual report.
Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce, one of the world's great banks.
You know, this World Series is truly an international event. Today's game being seen in Canada on both the French and English networks, in Puerto Rico, Venezuela, Panama, St. Thomas and the Virgin Islands, and on a delayed basis in Bogota, Colombia. And the final World Series game will be seen in England and Japan. This annual classic has really become, with the satellites now, the World Series. In Europe, Vietnam, Korea, and around the world, the Armed Forces Radio Service on his 300 radio station beaming the play-by-play. Ron Swoboda, a local boy, comes home. Reared right here in this Baltimore area. Hit .235 for the season, 9 homers, 52 RBIs. And a bunny's way on. Strike. He attended the University of Maryland for 1 year before signing his contract with the Orioles. Screwball foul back. He played in this stadium 1 game as a high school boy. 2 strikes to Swoboda. Charles on deck and then Grody. Second strikeout for Cuellar. And here's the oldest player of the non-pitchers in this World Series, veteran Ed Charles, 35 years old. Hit .207, 3 homers, 18 RBIs. They call him the glider on the Mets squad. Strike to him because of the way he runs. And they have a favorite saying in the Mets clubhouse when he'd get a hit, the glider hit the slider. 1 strike. 1-0, Baltimore leading in the top of the second. Foul back. 0-2 to Charles. On deck, Jerry Grody, the Met catcher. Just missed with a fastball. Cuellar's tough with that large assortment of pitchers. He's a craftsman on the mound. Knows how to set you up. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Curve is inside to him. 2-2. He was one of 2 American League pitchers to beat every opposing club during the season. The other one's his teammate, Jim Palmer. The 2-2 pitch. And out goes Ed Charles. That's the 3rd strikeout in a row now for Mike Cuellar. 2 down for the Mets, nobody on, and Jerry Grody up. Grody hit .252 this year with 6 homers, 40 RBIs. Fastball is 1-0. The on-deck batter is the second baseman, Al Weiss. 2 down, bases clear. Orioles 1, Mets 0, top of the second. Off curve, he dropped in. 1 ball, 1 strike. Fastball hit to short. The big hop to Belanger, and the Mets go down 1-2-3 in the second. At the end of an inning and a half, it's the Orioles 1 and the Mets 0.
The river's a giant, blind and strong, sweeping and driving the logs along, pushing them up on the rocks and the shore, till the men set them free to go tumbling once more. The treacherous jams will tax all their skill as the bold, hearty loggers press on to the mill. But their task never ends till the long drive is done, and the satisfied loggers have conquered the run. And then their reward is an O'Keefe ale. It's smoother than the rest. Yes, O'Keefe is the ale these men enjoy. O'Keefe ale satisfies best. O'Keefe ale, the right ale for right now.
Let's go down to the stands now to Tony.
Thank you, Kurt. With me down in the field, the Commissioner of Baseball, Bowie Kuhn. And Bowie, if this World Series is anything like those playoffs, it's really going to be something.
It really is. It's starting out on a pretty exciting note. That ball Buford hit was a well-tagged ball. Interesting play out there, I thought. Looks very exciting. We've got Mrs. Nixon and her family here. It's another great day for baseball, I think.
Commissioner, we're going to try and talk to some other people in your party a little bit later on. Thank you so much.
Good, Tony. Good to see you.
Thank you, Bowie Kuhn, Commissioner of Baseball. Back upstairs.
Ellie Hendricks leads off for the Orioles in the last of the second. Seaver feeds him a curve, ball one. Hendricks hit .244, 12 homers, 38 runs batted in. He has some power to right, and they're swung around toward right for him. Strike. Naturally, both teams have been thoroughly scouted by the other. There's the defensive setup with Charles, the third baseman, playing even with a bag. The slow curve has popped up. Ed Charles is calling for it. The Met third baseman has it, one down. Brings up Dave Johnson. One reason the Orioles won 109 games, if you look at the bottom of their batting order, Dave Johnson hit .280, batting 7th, and Mark Belanger, the shortstop, hit .287, hitting 8th. They had a bet on their roommates, these two, which one would get the most hits. Belanger won the bet. They bet in spring training. Fly ball into center field. Tom Agee waiting for it, and there are two down. Mark Belanger, who has always been known as an outstanding defensive player, but a real question mark with a bat, has probably been one of the biggest surprises of the Major League season. He hit .287, had 2 homers, 51 runs batted in. Charlie Lau, the Oriole hitting coach, helped him a lot. Strike, close his stance up a bit, try to get him to wait more and chop down on the ball. Outside. The only shortstop in the majors that hit for a higher average was Boston's Rico Petrocelli, who hit .297. Fella can really feel, can he, Bill?
And with the extra bat, of course, his fielding range is even better, Kurt.
There's a ground ball to third, and that's a quick 1-2-3 inning for Tom Seaver. So at the end of 2 innings, the score, the Baltimore Orioles 1 and the New York Mets nothing.
If you appreciate spacious living and quiet authority, you could be Dodge material.
I say jolly good choice, what, Big Dodge?
Yes, excellent choice, Big Dodge.
Didn't I tell you? Big Dodge has more interior room than the limousine.
Yes, it's very roomy.
And smooth. Now, wouldn't you say that's just about the smoothest ride you've ever had?
Smooth, yes, very smooth indeed.
And the new wide stance, Big Dodge handles even better. And it's quieter than the limousine, too.
Big Dodge is definitely quiet.
And with Chrysler air conditioning, it's every bit as comfortable, wouldn't you say?
Yes, more comfortable.
And it isn't very expensive for all the car you get. James?
Yes, Mr. Snodgrass.
Sell the limousine.
Yes, Mr. Snodgrass.
Good night, Dave.
Good night, Mr. Snodgrass.
You don't have to be eccentric or a millionaire to be Dodge material.
Down in the commissioner's box, the fellow with the dark glasses in the second row is Ted Williams. The owner of the Senators right beside him. Commissioner Giles, after 50 years of outstanding service to baseball with his arms folded, president of the National League. Christian Nixon. Mrs. Nixon, our First Lady. Commissioner Kuhn, Mrs. Kuhn. David Eisenhower and his wife Julie. And I wouldn't doubt some Secret Service men. Al Weiss leading off. The strike. Al Weiss hitting .215, 2 homers, 23 runs batted in. Ball one. When Weiss was with the White Sox, they had a collision at second base. Weiss's knee rammed into the head of Frank Robinson, and Robinson had a concussion and had double vision for nearly a year. So these two remember each other, 2-1. That's Tom Seaver, the pitcher, on deck. And out of that concussion, Weiss received some torn ligaments in his knee. They both were injured. The 2-1 pitch by Cuellar is fouled back, and the count's 2-2. Pitchers are all set for tomorrow. 2 left-handers going, McNally for the Orioles, Koosman for the Mets. And they're all set for next Tuesday in New York, too. Gentry for the Mets and Jim Palmer for the Orioles. Ball 3, 3-2 with Al Weiss. One run, 2 hits for the Orioles, no runs, 1 hit for the Mets. Cuellar gives up his first walk. Tom Seaver battles you at the plate. He's an all-around athlete. He's a good fielding pitcher. Has good speed. Sticking a base hit now and then. So he's no soft touch up there. Weiss at first, nobody out. 1-0 Baltimore, top of the third. Brooks Robinson creeping in at third, looking for the bunt. Foul back. 0-1. This first game of the World Series being brought to you in living color on NBC. Another reason why we say if it's really special, it's on NBC. Trying to bunt again. 0-2. Now let's see if Seaver tries to bunt on the third strike. Al Weiss, a fast man at first. Look out. Oh, they nearly got him. Cuellar has a deceptive move to first and nearly had Weiss leading the wrong way. That was a close play. 2 strikes to Seaver. He may switch back here and try and chop this one. Oh, over to first again. Robinson is ready to charge anyway from third. Or the Seaver bunts or chops away at it. Going to swing. Struck him out. 4 strikeouts for Cuellar. Now we go to the top of the Met batting order, and Tom Agee, who grounded out to third his first time.
Number 20, Tommy Agee.
Agee led the Mets in a lot of departments this year. Games played, RBIs, runs, total bases, times at bat, and strikeouts. Ground ball to short. Belanger to Johnson for 1 on the first. Double play. An easy double play. The Mets are all out in the third. No runs, no hits, no errors, nobody left. At the end of 2.5, Baltimore 1 and New York 0.
What man can resist it? The clean, crisp aroma of ocean surf. Get it in new Gillette Foamy Surf Spray Shaving Cream. A new fragrance, like the refreshing spray of a breaker. The foamy crispness of ocean whitecaps. If you've ever enjoyed the refreshing scent of ocean spray on your skin, you know what to expect in new Foamy Surf Spray by Gillette. Take the plunge today.
Car makers test their cars on roads. Gillette tests their razors on faces. We designed the Gillette Techmatic for faces like this, with a razor band that's less likely to nick as it takes the curves. Light to ride gently over life's little potholes. The revolutionary Gillette Techmatic. Take it for a test shave.
I see you've got old number 9 there, Tony.
Hey, Kurt. Ted said to say hi to you. Ted? He's up on top there, but what about this Baltimore hitting as a team?
Well, I want to tell you, I saw him all year, as you know,
And they just seemed like a club that if they needed a run, they could get a run. And they got hitting all through their lineup. As far as I'm concerned, they're an outstanding ball club.
And they can do more than just hit, too, can't they, Ted? They can play defense.
That's right. They have a well-balanced club. Certainly the best balanced club in our league, I would say. And,
Ted, congratulations to you on your fine year, and we may talk to you later. Thank you so much.
Mike Cuellar got a hand when he came up. The first pitch to him was ball 1. 1-1. Cuellar, Buford, and Blair here in the last of the third. One and 2 to Mike Cuellar. The Oriole run came in the first inning on a leadoff home run by Don Buford. And that's been the scoring so far. Curve in the dirt, 2-2. The 2-2 pitch. That is strikeout number 3 for Tom Seaver. And here is Buford coming up, getting a hand for his home run. Those are the season records of both teams for the years. Both have the most wins in the majors. Both swept the playoff. Well, it's only fitting they should be meeting here in the series. Don Buford's done, I think, a very nice thing. He's invited his old college coach and his son to be his guest here at the World Series. Ball 1. Rod Daydew, the University of Southern California baseball coach, and his son Justin are here. The 1-0 pitch. Bounding ball to the right side. Weiss can't make a play. We'll see how they score that one. An error has been charged to Al Weiss. The scorers today are Dick Young, New York Daily News, who's president of the Baseball Writers Association, Lou Hatter of the Baltimore Sun, and Joe Durso of the New York Times. And they score by committee. In other words, each gives a decision. 2 out of 3 win. Curveball is hit high in the air in the left field. Jones looking up there in that bright sun. 2 down. Buford gets back. Here's Frank Robinson now, who struck out his first time. We received a telegram before the game from a fellow at Trinity University down in San Antonio. Wanted us to say that the only university with representatives on both World Series teams is Trinity University. Jerry Grody of the Mets and Dave Johnson for the Orioles. However, he's not right. USC has Seaver for the Mets and Buford for the Orioles. Ball 1 to Frank Robinson. 2 down. Buford stole 19 bases this past season at first. Robinson can handle that bat. He'll go behind the runner. Ball 2. If we get another center field shot, you'll see how he crowds the plate. Over the years, he's always been a batter that's led the league many times in being hit by pitch balls. The 2-0 pitch to him, ripping away at that high inside pitch. You've been hit many times this year?
13 times, Kurt, he's been hit by opposing pitchers this year.
Led the American League in being hit by pitch balls this year, and 6 times he led the National League being hit. But he'll bounce right up and attack the next pitch. 2 balls, 1 strike. if you knock him down. If you hit him, he's on first. But if you knock him down, he's fearless up there.
Kurt, pitchers work on Buford, not so much because he has good speed, but also Buford very frequently will take a dangerous kind of lead, so that's why Seaver's working on him so much.
2-1 count to Frank Robinson. You saw Buford, a little body wiggle there. Watching, he get a little body wiggle going, and he wants that pitcher to think he may be able to step off here at any second. 2 down, 2-1 to count. There he goes. Curveball hit the third. Ed Charles up with it. And the Orioles are out in the third. No runs, no hits. There was 1 error, 1 man left. At the end of 3, it is Baltimore 1 and New York nothing.
In this remote part of Canada, people depend on the river. And by river, regularly as clockwork. Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce brings banking service to them. The MV Jean-Briand is just one of the more than 1,350 commerce branches where you can save. It's typical of commerce determination to make saving money easier and more convenient. Think how handy your own commerce branch is. Here's why. Because the Commerce has more branches than any other bank on this continent.
Bank of Commerce, Bank of Commerce.
Keep cash on hand at the Commerce, one of the world's great banks.
You know, baseball and NBC have been partners for longer than most people realize. The first sports event ever televised was the Princeton-Columbia College baseball game back in May of 1939. There were about 487-inch screen television sets around New York at the time. They didn't have ratings in those days, but we know that 28,600,000 homes, a record for a sports telecast, tuned in the 4th game of the World Series last year at Detroit. Strike 1 to Bud Harrelson, who grounded out his first time up. Straight away for him. Harrelson, Jones, and Clendenin for the Mets. Outing ball to Robinson. They call him the human vacuum sweeper here. He just sweeps up everything. In fact, that left side of the Baltimore infield, you've got to really hit a shot to get it.
Keep cash on hand at the Commerce, one of the world's great banks.
You know, baseball and NBC have been partners for longer than most people realize. The first sports event ever televised was the Princeton-Columbia College baseball game back in May of 1939. There were about 487-inch screen television sets around New York at the time. They didn't have ratings in those days, but we know that 28,600,000 homes, a record for a sports telecast, tuned in the 4th game of the World Series last year at Detroit. Strike 1 to Bud Harrelson, who grounded out his first time up. Straight away for him. Harrelson, Jones, and Clendenin for the Mets. Outing ball to Robinson. They call him the human vacuum sweeper here. He just sweeps up everything. In fact, that left side of the Baltimore infield, you've got to really hit a shot to get it through between Robinson covering the line at third, ranging to his left, and Belanger with his great range at short. One out, nobody on. Cleon Jones singled his first time. Cuellar has struck out 4 and walked 1. A ball to Jones, who was born in Plateau, Alabama, lives now in Mobile. 27 years old. One and one. On deck is Clendenin. One out, nobody on. The Orioles ahead, 1-0. Fly ball to left. John Buford puts it away, and we have 2 down. Since that Buford home run, we haven't really had a ball hit hard. Don Clendenin struck out his first time. There's a drive in the left center for a base hit. They're trying to cut it off. It goes to the fence. Clendenin will have extra bases and is in with a stand-up double. The Mets have their second hit.
Kurt, fortunately, as Clendenin came through to get that double, it went past Buford in deep left center field. He got that pitch on the outside corner, and he managed to pull it pretty well to the left center field pocket alley. And luckily, Blair had backed up Buford, or else Clendenin might have had a chance to go to third.
Ron Swoboda struck out his first time. Each team now has 2 hits. The Orioles are leading 1-0 in the top of the 4th. 1-0 to Swoboda. Clendenin at second, 2 down. On deck, Ed Charles. Fly ball, right center. Paul Blair going for it. Has a beat on it. And the Mets are out of the 4th. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, 1 left. 3.5 innings gone. The Baltimore Orioles 1 and the New York Mets nothing.
These are the good times, and good times just naturally go together with good times just naturally go together with Old Vienna.
Hey, Tony, tell Ted I'll check him out in his fly casting this winter.
You hear what Kurt said? He's going to check your fly casting out this winter, Teddy. Listen, congratulations on the fine year you had and, of course, your ball. That was really great.
Well, the happy thing about it, as far as I'm concerned, is that we did a little better than most people thought. And I think that's the way the rest of our club felt, too.
Ted, you're going to get a lot of votes for Manager of the Year, and you deserve it. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Let's get back upstairs.
Boog Powell leads off for the Orioles in the last of the 4th. He singled to right his first time. Strike. Some clubs shift on Powell, but the Mets are not. Ball 1, 1-1. Every manager has his own idea how to play. It depends on who's pitching and what kind of ball club you have. They're swung around toward right, both in the infield and the outfield point, though. 2-1. The on-deck batter, Brooks Robinson, and then we'll go to Ellie Hendricks. Seaver has struck out 3. He hasn't walked anyone. Pops it up off the fist. It's going to be out of play. 2-2 to John Powell. Reared in Key West, Florida, now lives here in the Baltimore area. Or used to. Did he move? He's moved to Miami, Bill O'Donnell tells me. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Curve, didn't want to swing at it. Bud Harrelson charges it. Powell is out. Faster man might have beaten that one out, but Powell's not exactly a speed merchant. 1 down. You don't usually see him hold up on a swing like that. He usually goes through whether he's made a mistake or not. Brooks Robinson flied to deep center his first time. One out, nobody on. He pops it up to the right side. Al Weiss puts it away, and that's out number 2. And since that leadoff homer to Buford, Tom Seaver has been tough for the Orioles. Ellie Hendricks popped up his first time.
Number 10, L. Randon, Hendricks.
2 down, nobody on. Hendricks played as a pull hitter to right. Dave Johnson on deck. 1-0. Dave Johnson. His changeup is ball 2. Seaver and Ferguson Jenkins of the Cubs were the only National League pitchers to defeat every opposing club. The 2-0 pitch. 3-0. With 2 out, nobody on. Seaver was just as tough on the road as he was at home. He won 13 and lost 4 on the road, won 12 and lost 3 at Shea Stadium. Strike. 3-1 to Ellie Hendricks. Base hit by Hendricks. The 3rd hit for the Orioles, their first hit since the 1st inning. Dave Johnson, the batter, fly to center his first time.
Number 15, David Johnson.
Billy Hunter, the 3rd base coach. 1 run, 3 hits for Baltimore. No runs, 2 hits for New York. The Orioles have 2 down. Hendricks at first. The curve is outside. 1-0. Fastball misses. 2-0. There's a white house beyond the ballpark in center field that when a right-handed pitcher, there it is, just beyond the flagpole, sometimes comes way over the top. It can be distracting for the hitters. Two balls and no strikes. Hendricks at first, 2 down. 3-0.
Kurt, this is the Oriole bat boy, Jay Mazzone, who has those artificial limbs, and he's used those artificial limbs since he was 2 years old. He was unfortunately in a very bad fire, but those artificial limbs have not hurt this youngster one bit.
The strike shows what you can do when you want to do it.
Kurt, amazingly enough, that youngster we just saw is also a bowler and bowls over 150 a game.
That's really something. 3-1 the count. Let's watch here. 2 down. Hendricks is holding. Ball 4, and the Orioles have runners on first and second. And that's the first walk given up by Tom Seaver. Mark Belanger is the batter. We're going to pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC television. Belanger grounded to third his first time up. Hendricks at second, Johnson at first, 2 down. Seaver fires a fastball through. 0-1. Breeze has changed up now. It's blowing from third to first. Not much of a wind, though. 1 strike. One and one. Clendenin's playing way off the bag at first. Johnson had a huge lead there. Brody was trying to bluff him back. 1 ball, 1 strike. There's a base hit to right. Swoboda's firing to the plate. The throw is off. The throw to third is not in time. Belanger singles to right. Swoboda charged that ball. Looked like he had a good play at the plate, but as you saw, his throw was off.
Kurt, here it is in slow motion. The pitch was outside. Belanger went with the outside pitch right between the second and the first baseman, Weiss, to Clendenin. Swoboda tried to come home with the throw, may have hurried the throw, and it was down the third base foul line. And then the throw from the catcher, Brody, on to Charles was also late.
Well, the Orioles now have Dave Johnson at third, Belanger at first. Give Belanger an RBI. And his hitting down there in that number 8 spot has been so vital for the Orioles all season. The pitcher, Mike Cuellar's up. He struck out his first time. The Orioles lead now 2-0. Runners on first and third, 2 down. It's a little looper. Base hit in the left center. In to score is Dave Johnson. Belanger stops at second, and Cuellar helps his own cause. And he doesn't want a warm-up jacket. And now here's a fellow who became the 8th player in World Series history to hit a home run in his first time at bat in a World Series. Mickey Lolich was the last to do it. Ball 1. For Tom Buford, who homered in the first, reached in an error in the third. Belanger's at second, Cuellar's at first, 2 away. 4 Orioles in a row have reached base. 3-0, Baltimore. There's a drive to right field. That's into the corner. Coming in to score is Belanger. Cuellar's going to third. And in the second goes Buford with his speed. A double. Five in a row have reached now for Baltimore. Paul Blair's up. He's the 8th batter of the inning, and we're going to get some action now in the Met bullpen. Rube Walker, the Met pitching coach, coming out. Seaver was sailing along. He had Powell on a grounder, Robinson popped up, and then Hendricks single, Johnson walked, Belanger single in a run, Cuellar single in a run, and Buford double in a run. Ron Taylor warming up. Four to nothing, Baltimore leading. They've scored 3 times here in the last of the 4th. Runners on second and third, 2 down. 6 hits off Seaver for the Orioles. Curve is hit to third. Charles up with it. And that's it. 8 men went to the plate. 3 runs for the Orioles. 4 hits. There were no errors and 2 left. At the end of 4 innings, it's Baltimore 4 and New York nothing.
What is it?
Asking the question doesn't make it. Driving the answer makes it. Plymouth makes it.
Once again, Tony Kubek.
Thank you, Kurt. Down here with me in the commissioner's box, David Eisner on my left and his lovely wife, Julie Eisenhower. David, what about this ball game? What about the ball club? Do you have a favorite?
Well, I've definitely got a favorite. I'm a Baltimore fan.
You're sitting on the American League side.
I've always been on the American League side of things in the World Series. So I think I'm with most of the professionals and not very many of the fans, I think, in predicting a ball game.
Julie, you know your husband's probably the greatest baseball fan I've ever seen. I had a chance to spend some time with him during the All-Star game. He knows more about baseball than any professional announcer I ever heard.
He really does. And you know the night that the White House had the party for all the baseball people? Well, one of the members on my dad's staff called David at work in Senator Rusk's office and was getting all these statistics for my dad to use in his speech because David was the encyclopedia. They didn't even need to go to a book.
Well, I'm sure your father would like to be here, as great a sports fan as he is.
He really would. He was planning to come, and then he's having this Vietnam meeting, so he couldn't make it.
Well, Dave, thank you so much. Maybe we'll get back to you a little bit later. Thank you. I want to get some inside baseball knowledge from you in just a few minutes.
Good seeing you again, Pat.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Julie. Let's go back upstairs.
We're going to the fifth inning here in Baltimore. Ed Charles starts it off for the Mets. He struck out his first time. Mike Cuellar, ball one. Cuellar has allowed 2 hits. A single by Cleon Jones and a double by Clendenin. He has struck out 4 and walked 1. Out of play. 1 ball, 1 strike. Don Cardwell is warming up in the Met bullpen.
Kurt, we saw Tony downstairs interviewing David Eisenhower one night in a ball game in Anaheim. He came in unannounced with about 5 minutes as we see Taylor warming up again out in the bullpen. Sat right upstairs unannounced and came in and enjoyed the ball game.
2-1. John Deck batter is Brody. Foul back. You know, the Oriole pitching has been something in the World Series. They played in the 66 series, swept the Dodgers 4 games, and pitched 3 shutouts in a row the last 3 games. And Cuellar has 4 innings of shutout here so far.
Kurt, in that 66 season, the Oriole bullpen was almost as effective as the starters. This season, the bullpen has not been called on as much as it was in 66.
The 2-2 pitch, foul back. Ed Charles is quite a poet. He's had a book of poetry published. Nobody on, nobody out. Top of the 5th inning. Bounding ball to Robinson. Backs him up. A hurry-up throw right on the button. 4 chances for Brooks Robinson in the game. Well, you talk about your great third baseman of all time. There's one of them. High Trainer, was picked on the all-time team. Robinson, George Kell, Billy Cox when he was over with the Dodgers.
I'm sure the people in Brooklyn watching today, Kurt, feel that Cox is the greatest they've ever watched. The people here in Baltimore feel Brooks is the best.
Fly ball to right. Frank Robinson. Right fielder, 2 down. Brody has grounded out his first time up, and now Al Weiss is coming up. He walked in his first time.
Kurt, and to show you the appreciativeness of the Brooks Robinson, he pats on the back George Kell every once in a while for teaching him quite a bit about how to play third base.
2 down. Baltimore leading 4-0 in the top of the 5th. Foul ball. One ball, 1 strike. We're on an hour later tomorrow. That's Tom Seaver, the on-deck batter. Foul ball back. And we have one right here in our NBC booth. Tomorrow, the World Series pregame show starts at 1:30 Eastern Daylight Time. And it's Dave McNally against Jerry Koosman tomorrow. The 1-2 pitch. 2-2 to Al Weiss. Cardwell is still throwing in the Met bullpen. Two-two pitch. Ball 3. Player pitching 3-2. Weiss hits it to Robinson. Look at that tricky hop, and throws him out. That's the best fielding play of the game so far. That was a tough hop for him, Bill.
He stayed right with it, Kurt. It didn't fool him one bit. He had the glove down in good position, reached the glove down quickly, turned the neck, made the good hard throw right from the third base side, and right on target to Powell to just get the runner by 1 or 2 good strides.
So the Mets are down in order, and at the end of 4.5 innings, the score, the Baltimore Orioles 4 and the New York Mets nothing.
You, Baron von Spiegeladler, saber champion of Heidelberg 3 times, spoiled by this blade with the miracle plastic coating so the edge of the cold steel doesn't touch your face from any shapes. You will never face cold steel again. Oder Fissen an rechter Verteidiger. Nichts und Negern und... Hey, that's a real sword.
Do you mean that we're sharing the same cabinet with the man in 2C?
That's 2D, Mona.
Oh,
That's
and he flings open the door and
He
starts...
tells me about his regular right guard and how one shot lasts him all day.
And you just stood there?
No, I told him about our right guard antiperspirant and how it stops odor and helps keep us dry.
Oh, wait. Good morning. Hi. Hey. Oh, you beautiful cow. Yellow.
2 kinds of people, 2 kinds of right guard.
Finger was in the door.
We're halfway through the opening World Series game, and now to carry the rest of the way on play-by-play, the Baltimore Oriole broadcaster and telecaster, Mr. Bill O'Donnell.
Thank you, Kurt, and hello again, everybody. Seaver's only been really roughed up in 1 inning. That was last inning when the Birds batted 8 men, and here's Frank Robinson to start it off. High curve and ball 1. Robinson has batted twice against Seaver and has not hit the ball out of the infield. Struck out in the first, bounced out in the third. Deep left center field. This is A.G. in front of the warning track with a lot of room. And 1 away. A.G., like the Orioles center fielder, Paul Blair, goes back and comes in on a ball equally well. But he had a lot of time to get out to deep center on the towering fly. Boog Powell has had a base hit. That came in the first inning with 2 out. And he also rolled out to short as he was jammed on a fastball in the 4th inning and off a check swing. Foul ball over towards the Mets dugout. The Orioles are leading Game 1 of the 1969 World Series by a score of 4-0. Seaver today has tried to lean on the breaking stuff as much as his good fastball. Change up a little bit outside.
They're really feeding Powell a lot of curves. That must be the Met report on him and strategy. They haven't shown him too many fastballs, Bill.
They're trying to get Powell off balance. They gave him the heat that time, but Weiss was perfectly positioned. Weiss couldn't have played it any better defensively to get Powell on that hot shot 1 hop. So against Seaver, Birds have batted 2 men. They've both gone down, and here is Brooks Robinson. Brooks has made the sparkling defensive play of the ball game, has flied deep to center, and has popped up. 2 out in the bottom of the 5th inning. He went after the fastball, and no play for Grody, the catcher. On deck is the Oriole catcher, Ellie Hendricks. Again, the second baseman, Weiss, was perfectly positioned as Brooks lined out on the fastball to the second baseman. And so at the end of the fifth inning, the score is Baltimore 4, New York nothing.
Hi. I'd like this in my personal checking account and this in my savings, please.
If everyone who banked at the Commerce had the same kind of account, it'd make life a lot easier for us. But it wouldn't do much for you. So we've got three kinds of accounts.
Hello, Miss Hall. I'd like this in my personal checking account and this in my savings.
For writing checks, you need a Commerce personal checking account. You get a statement every month, along with your canceled checks.
This is for my savings account, and this is my personal checking
For saving money, you need a Commerce savings account. It guarantees you the highest savings account interest available at chartered banks in Canada.
Balance this for me, please. I've been writing a lot of checks.
For saving money and writing a few checks, you need a Commerce checking savings account. Commerce has three convenient types of accounts. Most people need two, one for checking and one for saving.
Can you help me? I'd like to open an account.
If you don't know which combination you need, just ask. Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce, one of the world's great banks.
World Series action with Kurt Gowdy and Tony Kubek returns after we break for station identification. This is the CBC Television Network.
Well, the manager of the Mets, Gil Hodges, realizing he's 4 runs down to go to the top of the 6th inning, will pull Tom Seaver, and he will bat instead one of his catchers, Duffy Dyer. During the regular season, Dyer batted .257. He had 3 home runs and knocked over 12 runs. On the first pitch, the shortstop Belanger over near the hole for out number 1. Dyer, batting for Seaver, gets 1 pitch and grounds out short to first. A quick out to start the top of the 6th inning, and here's the expression and the feeling right now pictured on the face of the Mets manager, Gil Hodges.
Number 20, Tommy Agee.
Here's the leadoff batter now, Tommy Agee, and he truly has to be one of the fine comeback stories of not only the Mets season, but the entire National League season. He got the curve, rainbowed in slowly for strike 1. Cuellar thus far in the ballgame has thrown that change curve twice and thrown it well. 1 strike to Tommy Agee. He didn't get the screwball through. A ball and a strike. Agee came from a .217 average a year ago to a strong .271 this year. 1-1. The screwball missing again. The activity right now in the Mets bullpen is with veteran Don Cardwell. 1 away, we're in the top of the 6th inning. The change curve was in, so both his strikes to Agee have been those let-up rainbow breaking balls. Cuellar looks down at his feet a lot, and he does that to concentrate and also tries to relax those rubber arms of his as much as he can. No play on the foul ball to the top side of the ballpark up in right field. Agee, known as a very aggressive swinger. The fastball, and he stays alive at 2-2. On deck, this is Bud Harrelson. He got the soft curve 3 times for 3 looking strikes.
Watch Cuellar now. 5 pitches he's using in this game. And this is that soft curve that he's using as a changeup. Long stride for him. Throws them all off that same motion.
All right, Kurt, here is Bud Harrelson, the shortstop. 1-0 to Harrelson. He's bounced out twice to third baseman Brooks Robinson. Harrelson has not been a switch hitter for too many years, back about 2 or 3 years ago. He got the soft curve over the plate, but low. 2 balls and no strikes. Cuellar has been touched for only 2 base hits. 3-0 to Harrelson. That's the third base coach, Eddie Yost, flashing Harrelson either the red light or the green light. Take it or go ahead and swing. 2 gone, nobody aboard. Right. He was waved to first base. Soar came up with the right arm and then pointed, said, go to first base. Second walk has been issued now by Cuellar. He walked Weiss back in the 3rd inning to lead it off. Cleon Jones coming on for the 3rd time. He has one of a pair of hits off Cuellar. Jones rammed the ball right through the middle of the infield past shortstop Belanger in the 1st inning for a base hit to center, and he flied to left his last trip in the 4th inning. Jones will hit the ball a lot through the middle. Powell holding Harrelson the runner with 2 out in the Mets' 6th inning. Didn't get that breaking stuff. It might have been a slider right down to his knees. Kurt has been talking about an assortment, and there isn't too much that Cuellar does not have. About the only thing he might not have is the straight changeup. Popped him up. Powell might have a chance. Powell in foul ground off the first base side to retire. The Mets in the top of the 6th inning. And so at the middle of the 6th inning, the score is Baltimore 4, New York nothing.
The assembly line beats with a pulse of its own. Each man is a link in a smooth running chain that joins all the skills of a dozen tough trades, building and shaping again and again. A bold, hearty breed, these men of the line. They're satisfied men, and they like what they do. With clockwork precision, they work as a team and never slow down till their long day is through. And then their reward is an O'Keefe Ale. It's bolder than the rest. Yes, O'Keefe is the hearty ale these men enjoy. O'Keefe Ale satisfies best. O'Keefe Ale, the right ale for right now.
Well, we're going to the bottom of the 6th inning here at Baltimore's Memorial Stadium. Baltimore is leading New York by a score of 4-0. And let's go downstairs to Tony Kubek.
Thank you, Bill. Sitting with me down here, Mayo Smith, the manager of the Detroit Tigers. And last year, Mayor, you were in the same boots that Gil Hodges and Earl Weaver. Of course, your ball club had a little rough break, but I think it was really a lot of this Baltimore Orioles which really hurt you.
Well, you're so right, Tony. I don't think people gave enough credit to the Baltimore club because they started right from spring training and went right on through the season. And when you win 109 ball games, we thought we played pretty good last year. We won 103, so you can see we'd still be 6 games behind them if we'd have played as well as we did last year.
Mayo, they talk about the great balance of this ball club, of course, and they do. They can do everything defense. They're good power hitting. They can finesse a victory even. They can bunt and everything else. Let's talk a little bit about this Baltimore ball club and their hitting especially. Did you have trouble pitching in this ball club?
Well, yes, we did this year. Of course, you take a boy who's starred here so far today, Little Buford. He was always in our hair all year long. He's He's a fine little leadoff man, and of course, Boog, we held him home run-wise. He hit 2 off of us, but average-wise, he got a lot of base hits off us. But this ball club does just what it has to do. If it has to have a good pitch ball game, it gets it, and then if not such a good pitch game, why, they score a run. So this is, as you say, I think one of the finest, well-balanced ball clubs I've seen in a number of years.
Mayo Smith, thank you so much. I know you're looking forward to next year. Good luck to you.
Thank you, Tony.
Let's go on back upstairs right now.
This is Elrod Hendricks leading off against the new Mets pitcher, reliever Don Cardwell. And he opens him up with a wide fastball. Cardwell, 6'4", 220 pounds, and that's his one lost average on the year. He's a 33-year-older, been with quite a few ball clubs. Outside again, 2-0.
Well, Bill, Mayo Smith was talking about the Orioles in spring training. They had a fantastic record in spring training. They started winning from the opening game, and they haven't stopped since.
As a matter of fact, Earl Weaver was asked after spring training, how are you going to do in the regular season? And he said, just like we did in spring training. The first baseman, Clendenin, for the easy putout on Hendricks after he had pulled ahead of the reliever Cardwell, 2 balls and no strikes. Cardwell now walking back to the mound, in addition to being with the Mets, has been with 3 other National League ball clubs. Here's Dave Johnson. He has flied to center, walked, and scored a run, and he scored during the 3-run bottom of the 4th inning. We're 1 away in the top of the 6th, in the bottom of the 6th inning. Third baseman, Charles, with no trouble to retire Johnson easily, and that's 2 up and 2 down. Probably Cardwell's greatest contribution, as we now have Mark Belanger coming on to that in the bottom of the 6th inning. Cardwell's greatest contribution was towards the tail end of the season. He's primarily a breaking ball pitcher, and he was extremely successful in the Mets pennant drive. Strike 1 to Belanger. Belanger has bounced to third, got an opposite field base hit to right in the 4th inning to drive over one of the 3 runs. And this is Cuellar waving it back. 1 ball and 1 strike to Belanger. We talked about Agee having a comeback year, and Belanger had a comeback year just like Agee. He came from 208 to 287 this year. 1 after the low fastball, and right to third base coach Hunter, who, Kurt, was a great fielding shortstop years ago.
I remember him, and he's like Belanger. He had that range, could make that throw in the hole, good hands, never too good with a bat, but he could make spectacular plays in the field.
2 away, there's not a base runner on. 1-2. Pops him up in foul ground. Clendenin, the big, tall first baseman, and Cardwell in relief has a 1-2-3 inning to retire the Orioles. And so, at the end of the 6th inning, the score is Baltimore 4 and the New York Mets nothing.
Here it is, the hot new sports specialty car you've only heard rumors about. Brand new Dodge Challenger, ready to challenge anything on the road in any department. Power options go all the way up to a 426 Hemi. The stance goes wider and the styling goes out of sight with hidden wipers, dual headlights, and inside a whole new world of luxury. Compare Challenger to anything you've ever seen. The difference is like night and day.
Everyone is watching you. Can you be the someone who your new car says you are? If it's really true, if it's really true, if it's really true, you could be Dodge material. You
Challenger 1970. See it at your Dodge dealer.
The Baltimore pitchers have now allowed no runs in 39 consecutive World Series innings. Back in the '66 series, after the opening game, McNally, Palmer, and Bunker pitched consecutive shutouts against the Dodgers, and Cuellar has shut out the Mets here in the first 6 innings of this opening game of the '69 World Series. So here we go now to inning number 7, and Bill O'Donnell again.
Thank you, Kurt. And to lead off for the Mets in the top of the 7th inning, it'll be Clendenin, their number 4 batter, to be followed by Svoboda and Charles. And one of the men, Kurt, to be remembered in that '66 World Series, the great relief job by Grabowski. Grabowski pitched better than 6 innings of relief for McNally in that first game and struck out 11. 1-0 from Cuellar. The screwball for 1 ball and 1 strike. On deck, this is Ron Svoboda. He got a piece of the screwball that time, 1-2. Clendenin struck out in the first inning, and then he doubled with 2 away to the power alley in left center in the 4th. Clendenin likes the fastball. He's a good fastball swinger. No chance on the foul ball, back to the right side. You notice Clendenin always busy, always active, and now ready. Too tight, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Cuellar has been moving the ball around a lot on Clendenin, trying to get screwballs to his knees to the outside corner, and then trying to jam him with that soft curve. 2-2. Got a piece of the screwball. Now Cuellar, because he has the great assortment and also very good control, can move the ball around and be effective. Clendenin right now has not been an easy out. Up the middle for a base hit line to center field, and Clendenin has a 2-for-3 afternoon. Clendenin had the last base hit off Cuellar.
Here he is. Watch it. Head on the ball. Eyes right on that ball. A good follow-through. And he's been the best hitter so far in the game for the Mets.
All right, the Mets' third base hit, and they've got something going, perhaps to begin the top of the 7th inning. Here is Svoboda. He has fanned and flied to center field. A lot of power. Ball 1. Svoboda, as Kurt commented earlier, a local product here in Baltimore. 2 balls and no strikes. Cuellar has not had control difficulties through the first 6 innings. He has walked 2 men, but neither walk has put him in a jam. That's Powell holding on Clendenin. Nobody out. 3 balls, no strikes. Hendricks is going out to talk to Cuellar. In addition to Hendricks being a left-hand swinger, and that's one of the reasons, but only one, that he's in the ball game, started against Seaver and now batting against Cardwell. Oriole manager Earl Weaver also feels that there's no language barrier between Cuellar, who comes from Cuba, and Hendricks, who was born in the Virgin Islands. They can talk Spanish to each other or English. 3-0, Svoboda way ahead. Cuellar trying to fight his way back. He got the fastball through.
Bill, the fans are wondering about Cuellar's durability. He completed his last 8 starts of the regular season.
He loses him, and that will move Clendenin to second base. So now the Mets have their biggest rally of the ball game. The Mets are down by 4. They've come back many times during the season. And this will bring on Ed Charles. 3 walks have now been given up by Cuellar. Charles has fanned and grounded to third. We're in the top of the 7th inning. Baltimore leading New York by a score of 4-0. Ball 1. Right now, against Charles, as he was against Svoboda, Cuellar is getting wild high. And that's going to bring out the pitching coach. Here he is, George Bamberger. There's activity as we've got Bamberger, Hendricks, and Cuellar meeting. This is right-hander Eddie Watt. The Orioles have 2 late-inning relievers. One a left-hander, Rickert. That was the right-hander, Watt. Now, Bamberger, as he goes back to the Oriole third base dugout, he and Weaver may have just spotted something that Cuellar is not aware of. And we also have activity going on in the New York Mets bullpen with Ron Taylor. Right field, Frank Robinson's got to get a long run to the foul line along with Dave Johnson. The runners did not tag, the runners stay. And Frank Robinson made sure before he threw back to Belanger whether Clendenin was going to go. This is Yogi Berra with his runner at first base, Svoboda.
Let's remind the fans that during the World Series rule changes, the manager can go to the mound as many times as he wants, and the rule that the pitcher must throw in 20 seconds is out here too. So those are 2 minor rule changes that are in effect here for the World Series.
All right, Kurt, 2 runners still on for the Mets, now with 1 away. And here is Jerry Grody. The runner at second is Clendenin. And there's Svoboda. He is not being held by Powell, with the infield playing back at double play depth. Fastball was high. That's what Cuellar's problem has been with the control. Wild high. Cuellar trying to concentrate and think things over. Still wild high. 2-0. Clendenin second, Svoboda first. The outfield right now is spread pretty good to Grody with the power pockets open. And Belanger couldn't get to it. The Mets may have their first run. Buford throwing home, and then Clendenin decides to stay at third base. Clendenin took a big turn. Yost held him up. And the Mets have the bases jammed with only 1 gone in the top of the 7th inning. Grody got a good rip at an inside pitch right about hand high and ripped it right past Belanger, the shortstop.
Number 6, Al White.
Watch Belanger just miss this line drive. The Mets trailing by 4 did not want to gamble. Buford had charged that base hit. Made a good throw because it was a throw to the cutoff man, Robinson. Robinson could have either let it go through or cut it off, and he elected to cut it off when they held Clendenin at third.
Well, the Mets with a lot of fat on the fire, and this is Al Weiss only getting a piece of Cuellar's screwball. At third, Clendenin. At second, Svoboda. Grody, who just got the base hit at first base. The infield playing the same way as it had when Grody was batting. Back at normal depth with 1 out. 1 ball, 1 strike. Weiss has walked on a 3-2 pitch and sent a tricky hopping ball to Brooks Robinson at third base, who threw him out in the 5th. This is Cardwell on deck. 2 balls and 1 strike. Well, now the wildness problem of Cuellar is even more serious. Normally, when a pitcher is wild high or wild outside, he can adjust to it a little bit more quickly. But now Cuellar has been wild high and now wild low. Orioles lead 4-0 in the 7th. 3 balls, 1 strike. Cuellar very noticeably pressing against the tail end right now of the Mets order. Mets with a big chance. 3 balls and 2 strikes. There is only 1 man out, so that will not release the runners. And that's the impatient scene in the Oriole dugout. Deep left field. Buford, however, is in position. Clendenin trying to come home on the throw, which is way off the third base line. Weiss got a good rip and lined it to fairly deep left field, and Buford's throw was wild and way wide of the plate. So the Mets cut into the Oriole lead, and it's now Baltimore 4 and New York 1. The other 2 runners held, namely Svoboda at second and Grote at first base. Here's the pinch hitter now who will bat for Cardwell, Rod Gasper.
Your attention, please. Batting for Cardwell, number 17, Rod Gasper.
Gasper coming to the plate with 2 out, with a run home, with Grote at first base and Svoboda at second base. Now, Gasper, like Harrelson, can bat from either side. So he will go from the right side against Cuellar. On the year, he batted .228 overall between the left and right sides with a home run. He did much better from the right side, shoot an average of .263. Mets at second and first. Ball 1. Cuellar actually has brought on his own problems with this control situation. You just saw Svoboda and Grote. Grote at first is not being held by Powell. One ball and 1 strike. You may have noticed that when Gasper waits for Cuellar's pitch, his stance is open just a bit out towards the third base foul line. And then when Cuellar came forward, Gaspar went right into the pitch. There's the slightly open stance. When the ball is thrown, that front foot will go right towards the pitch. One and 2. Cuellar trying to tighten the belt buckle here and get out this Met fire here in the top of the 7th inning. Gasper batting for Cardwell. Seaver started the game and went 5 innings. A tough play for Brooks Robinson at third base. Extremely tough, and made the play.
Brooks Robinson putting on a fielding show here. This is the hardest play a third baseman has to make. Charging the ball, picking it up barehanded, and snapping the throw all in the same motion. And look at this throw, right on target with something on it. Robinson's made the 2 best fielding plays of the game so far.
And in the middle of the 7th inning, the score is Baltimore 4 and New York 1.
One morning, Wally Buckley discovered he had a case of the nubs.
The nubs!
The nubs. The tiny little part of his beard his razor couldn't get.
They're all over my face.
Fortunately, the Gillette Techmatic razor gets rid of the nubs. Techmatic adjusts to shave you closer. Techmatic gave Wally the closest shave he ever had. No nicks, no cuts, no nubs.
Boy, that was close.
Techmatic by Gillette. It gets the nubs.
Harold,
Yes, Valerie?
we've got to stop meeting like this.
I know. Your father will be needing his regular right guard.
Well, one shotney is good for the whole day, you know.
But I didn't mean anything by it.
Well, it's your parents who'll come barging in for the silver right guard.
Well, the antiperspirant. It stops odor and helps keep us dry, too.
Goodbye.
2 kinds of people, 2 kinds of right guard.
Valerie?
Oh, hi, Guy. You're Mona's kid, aren't you? Here, Dad in. Sid! Sid!
Right now, let's go downstairs. Tony Kubek has someone.
Thank you, Bill. With me is Joe Cronin, the president of the American League. And, Joe, they're comparing this Baltimore Orioles ball club to some of the Yankee clubs back in the 60s. They say it's one of the best ball clubs to come along in the American League in a long time.
Well, I agree with the critics. I really think the Baltimore club is playing with the same Yankee confidence. They've been together now for 2 or 3 years, and this Swale, the pitcher, added to their good pitching staff, and Ballinger's come into his own, and you being a great shortstop knows we realize how much. And Robinson, of course, is as good as ever, and Powell's improved right along. It's a good ball club. I particularly like Seaver today, Tony. I thought he had good stuff and good changeup, good motion, good curve. But those base-on balls will get you in trouble.
Well, Joe, we're going to see some of these Mets pitchers throughout the rest of the series. And I know you're going to New York, but when you see Kuzma tomorrow, another hard throw, Tug McGraw, Nolan Ryan has great stuff. So I think you're looking forward really to seeing this Mets ball club a little bit more.
It's going to be a great pitching series, I say.
Joe Cronin, thank you so much. Let's get back upstairs.
All right, thank you, Tony. And here is the third Mets pitcher now. Their second reliever, Don Cardwell, went the 6th inning, retired 3 in a row. This is another right-hander, Ron Taylor, and he is a Canadian lad. Working to Mike Cuellar. Strike one, he got the inside corner on him. Taylor is the only member of the New York Mets, the only player on the Mets with series experience. He was in 2 ball games for the Cardinals back in the '64 series. 1 ball and 1 strike. Cuellar has one of the Oriole base hits and drove over a run in the 4th inning. Cuellar, kind of a free swinger, very loose swinger. Ground foul and no play. Today's paid attendance for Game 1 of the 1969 World Series announced at 48,400. And there's at least 1/3 of that crowd of 48,000. Taylor ahead at a ball and 2 strikes. He tried to get that sinking fastball of his on the inside edge. 2 balls and 2 strikes. On deck, leadoff batter Buford with bat boy Jay Mazzone right next to him. Taylor, born and still lives in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. 3-2 to Cuellar. Taylor's best equipment is a sinking fastball. He will also show batters a slider. And like good relievers, he keeps the ball down, or at least tries to keep it down. 3-2. Still alive, the paid attendance for Game 1 of the 1969 World Series announced at 48,400. And there's at least 1/3 of that crowd of 48,000. Taylor ahead at a ball and 2 strikes. He tried to get that sinking fastball of his on the inside edge. 2 balls and 2 strikes. On deck, leadoff batter Buford with bat boy Jay Mazzone right next to him. Taylor, born and still lives in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. 3-2 to Cuellar. Taylor's best equipment is a sinking fastball. He will also show batters a slider. And like good relievers, he keeps the ball down, or at least tries to keep it down. 3-2. Still alive, the ball was upstairs, right back of the plate. Baltimore leading New York by a score of 4-1, and we're in the bottom of the 7th inning. Cuellar tried to get that outside pitch, was fooled by it. He had a lunge for it and couldn't get to it. So now relievers for the Mets have retired 4 in a row. And the greeting is for the leadoff batter, Don Buford. He has homered. He has been safe on an error and doubled over a run. Don with his best season in the American League. change curve for ball one. That should be a play for A.G. over in right center field or Svoboda. It is A.G. calling off Svoboda, and there are 2 away. We commented during the pregame activities that this park actually does not favor the pitcher, nor does it favor the hitter. It is an extremely tough park in which to pull the ball, although it is only 309 feet down both the left and the right field sides. It does not have the big expansive outfield of like a Dodger Stadium or a Yankee Stadium. 1 ball, no strikes to Blair. He's been up 3 times and out 3 times. There's that left field foul line. 309 right to that 14-foot wall. 1-0. 2-0 now. Blair does have a tendency to try to pull quite a few pitches. And the Mets have showed Blair a lot of breaking balls, curves and sliders. Seaver threw him a lot of curves. Slider gets the outside corner. 2 balls and 1 strike. On deck is Frank Robinson. The Orioles have not had a base hit off Met pitching since the 4th inning. Slider missing. 3-1 now. 2 out in the bottom of the 7th inning. Orioles went ahead in the 1st inning, and they've been ahead. The Mets had a big rally in the top half of this inning. He got him on the breaking ball. And you may have noticed that Blair just yanked the head away a bit as he went after that breaking stuff. That was Blair's problem late in the season. It was not his problem during the championship series against Minnesota. He loses him, and that's the Orioles' first base runner since the 4th inning. A 2-out walk given by Taylor to Blair. Last year, 10,000 people died because they thought they had found a good excuse for not wearing their safety belts in their cars. Well, 10,000 people who the National Safety Council estimates would have lived if they'd taken just 6 seconds to snap up their safety belt. So why don't you buckle up for safety and use that safety belt? Frank Robinson has been retired 3 times by the Mets. Blair at first, 2 gone in the bottom of the 7th. Fouled and out of play, strike 1. Seaver got Frank Robinson on a strikeout with a high fastball in the 1st inning. And Frank grounded out to 3rd and is flied to center. Blair is running, and they've got him in a rundown. Taylor goes to Clendenin. Clendenin running back to Weiss. Weiss running him back, and Weiss will make the put-out to retire the side. It goes 1, 3, 4 for the put-out. And that means Frank Robinson will begin the bottom of the 8th inning. And so at the end of the 7th inning, the score is Baltimore 4 and New York 1.
Goes
It
there.
would fit in, yeah.
Yeah, that one fits beside it.
And this one goes, no, that one.
Here's one like
goes
that.
right there.
This
Yeah,
one must
that
go
one
there.
must go in.
That's British Columbia,
Yeah.
Alberta, Saskatchewan,
and
Manitoba, and that's Ontario? Yeah,
it must be
Quebec fits in
Ontario.
up here.
Is that one Quebec?
Yeah.
Let me see. I know.
Labrador?
Like that. There it is.
Here, this one fits right in.
Oops, better move that island out a little bit.
What's that one? Looks like another Newfoundland, but there can't be 2. Oh, maybe it's,
Brunswick. I think this goes here, right?
This looks like
Prince Edward Island.
Nova Scotia sticking out there.
Canada. It's the best piece of real estate in the world. And the new high-interest Canada Savings Bonds let you own a piece of it. They're on sale now at the Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce.
World Series action with Kurt Gowdy and Tony Kubek returns after we break for station identification. This is the CBC Television Network.
The Mets now in the 8th inning start with the head of the order, Tommy Agee. And he got the slider into his hands for strike one. Cuellar has not thrown that slider too much. He's been screwball, fastball, and let up rainbow curve. Down the right field side, being chased by Frank Robinson, close to the foul pole, but not close enough.
Let's remind the fans, Bill, that tomorrow we'll be on at 1:30, an hour later, Eastern Daylight Time. World Series report with Jim Simpson, Sandy Koufax, and Mickey Mantle. Then Game 2 of the World Series, Jerry Koosman pitching for the Mets, and Dave McNally of the Orioles. And right after that, we'll go to football, AFL football, and we'll tell you more about it later.
All right, Kurt, 2 strikes to Agee, and he gets him on 3 pitches. 6 strikeouts for Cuellar. He has fanned Agee twice. Once looking and now swinging. It'll bring on the Mets shortstop, Bud Harrelson. Harrelson has grounded twice to third, and he was walked by Cuellar on 4 pitches in the 6th inning. Harrison will spray. He'll move the ball around the outfield. Strike one on the foul ball, right into his hands. Harrelson, not known as somebody who can pull the ball, and he's not normally known for power, and consequently, as we see Jones on deck, Blair is playing Harrelson in shallow center field. 1 ball, 1 strike. That's Hank Soar of the American League calling balls and strikes. One, and it's 2 balls and a strike. Harrelson gave these Mets an outstanding defensive job during the 1969 season, 2-2. And everybody, and understandably so, talked about the Mets' great pitching. But their defense up the middle, with Brody back of the plate and Harrelson at short, and Agee did an outstanding job. 2-2. Still alive. He didn't get the screwball through. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Three and 2. Tough play for Belanger, and he won't get to it. Right in the hole between Brooks Robinson and Mark Belanger. The last inning, the Mets had a rally going. A run and 2 hits they picked up. Now they try to start something afire with a 1-out single by Harrelson. Right now, we pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC Television Network.
Number 21, Cleon Jones.
Harrelson has just produced hit number 5 off Cuellar, and you're looking at Cleon Jones, who had a base hit up the middle in the 1st inning. Since then has flied to left and fouled out. Harrelson policed by Powell at first base. Orioles lead 4-1 in the top of the 8th inning. Strike one. The screwball was right to the knees. There have been ball games this year where Cuellar, and this is Don Clendenin on deck. There have been games where Cuellar, 75% of his pitches have been screwballs. Foul, Tapper. So Jones is in a 2-strike hole. The Orioles have activity again in their bullpen. Eddie Watt, as he was throwing in the 7th, throwing again in the 8th. Jones very aggressive with the bat and probably makes the best contact of anybody in the Mets club. Johnson gets one. Belanger won't get two. Johnson had trouble on the low line drive right between the ankles and the shoes and did not have enough time either for the double play. Belanger threw as hard as he could, but Jones, who has outstanding speed down the line, beat Belanger's fire to power. 2 out. Jones is now the runner.
Let's see how they work to Clendenin now. He's doubled and singled. He's been the toughest man for Cuellar today, and Cuellar might change his strategy a bit against him.
He went low to him, ball 1. Clendenin has put the ball in 2 parts of the field, a power alley double and a base hit up the middle. Fouled away, a no play by Clendenin. I would imagine, Kurt, that not so much in mid-June when Clendenin came to the Mets from Montreal, but towards the late part of August that Clendenin felt he had a new lease on his baseball life.
Well, he was riding the crest for the amazing Mets, and you can see why he would.
Still up there, 1 ball and 2 strikes. Cuellar has worked low over the plate and has also jammed Clendenin here in the top of the 8th inning. Cuellar led the Orioles in wins, in innings pitched, in complete ball games, and in strikeouts. No good with the screwball. 2-2. Powell holding, Jones with his lead. Another strikeout, 2 in the inning, 7 for Cuellar. No runs, 1 hit, and a man left in the top of the 8th inning. And so, in the middle of the 8th inning, it's Baltimore 4, New York 1.
These are the good times, and good times just naturally go together with good times just naturally go together with Old Vienna.
Bill O'Donnell along with Curt Gowdy at Baltimore's Memorial Stadium, and in World Series history, the club that has won the first game of a World Series has then gone on to win 39 of them. And however, clubs which have won the first game of the World Series have been beaten back and lost 26 in previous fall classics.
You'll see the rest of the World Series at NBC, AFL football highlights during the fall. And remember, NBC brings you the Rose Bowl, the Orange Bowl, the Gator Bowl, and the Senior Bowl, all on NBC. The best of the bowl game.
All right, thank you, Kurt. And here's the bottom now of the 8th inning. Frank Robinson was batting in the 7th with Blair at first base and 2 out. And then with Blair running, Taylor just broke contact with the rubber and caught him in a rundown. So Robinson in the bottom of the 8th. Did not get the slider, did not check the swing in time. Frank went from 268 a year ago to 308 this year. Tried the slider again. 1 ball and 1 strike.
He's deadly serious about becoming a manager, isn't he, Bill?
And Kurt, as you know, for the 2nd straight winter, Frank is going to manage in the Puerto Rican League at Santurce.
Smart baseball man. He should be a good manager.
He's made, made statements and hasn't kidded anybody. He says he wants to be a major league manager. He does not want to manage in the minors. He wants to start in the big time. All Frank has seen now is breaking pitches from Ron Taylor. 2 balls and 2 strikes. And Kurt, Frank will take quite a few of these Baltimore ball clubs to that Santurce club again this winter. 2 balls and 2 strikes to count rise. Powell is on deck. For those of you National League fans who remember Frank Robinson when he played with the Reds and have not seen him since he's been in the American League since '66, like a Henry Aaron, for example, he's got extremely quick hands and strong wrists. He went after the changeup, but pulls it way foul. There are many people, Kurt Gowdy, who feel that Frank Robinson has been as much of a help to this ball club as a leader off the field as he's been with the bat on the field.
Well, that's what we understand, especially when we talk to the other Oriole players.
3-2 now. And he got that slider upstairs a bit, but had that swing out in front. 2 strikeouts for Taylor in relief. He's faced 4 men. He's walked 1. Boog Powell has one of the Oriole base hits. That was a line single to right in the 1st inning. Since then, he's been handled twice on infield ground balls. Powell produced 22 home runs a year ago, but rocketed 37 out this year. Taylor just challenged Powell, completely challenged him and outpitched him. Brooks Robinson waiting to bat next. We're in the bottom of the 8th inning, and the Orioles lead the Mets 4-1. Got the outside corner. I kind of think that Taylor had Powell maybe guessing something different. Two strikes to Powell. Let's see if Taylor now decides to waste one. He didn't waste it. Clendenin was perfectly positioned, playing close to the foul line, and has Powell for an easy putout. Clendenin, when Powell swung, was only 1 good stride off that foul line. Powell back to the dugout, and the greetings for Brooks Robinson. Brooks was one of the hitting heroes in the American League Championship Series. He had 7 hits against Minnesota pitching. The Mets swept the Braves, and the Orioles did the same thing. They swept the Twins. Two away. Ball 1. Kurt.
For the Mets fans looking ahead to the Mets' last chance in the ninth, it's going to be Swoboda, Charles, and Grody. And we'll probably have a right and left-hander going to work in the Baltimore bullpen.
1-0 to Brooks Robinson. Got the outside edge to the knees. 1 ball and 1 strike. This is Elrod Hendricks on deck, the Oriole catcher. One and one now. He chased an outside slider. Brooks lunging and went after a bad pitch. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Taylor kept him off balance. Two away. The bases are empty. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Brooks feels that his success against the Twins in that championship series was because he had complete concentration. That's the one thing he talked about. 2 strikeouts in the inning for Taylor. He's got 3 strikeouts in 2 innings of outstanding relief. Ron Taylor. And so at the end of the 8th inning, the score is Baltimore 4 and New York 1.
Move, make the move, moving up, make the move. Chrysler, your next car is Chrysler, your next car is here today.
Your next car should have this much class and this much quiet authority. Chrysler for 1970. Chrysler with torsion quiet ride. Smooth, silent, luxurious. And with new wide stance. Chrysler, Canada's best-selling luxury car.
Before the Mets bat in the top of the 9th inning, downstairs to our good friend Tony Kubek.
Thank you, Bill O'Donnell. I'm talking down here to well, your dad's a good friend of mine, Bobby Shylock. What does your dad do?
He's an umpire.
Which team are you rooting for, Bobby?
Baltimore.
Is your dad going to let you play hooky from school Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, or Thursday up in New York?
I don't think so.
You think he's going to make you go to school?
Yeah.
Well, I thought he was a nice guy, but I'm not so sure. He ought to let you see that ball game. Who are you pulling for?
Baltimore.
You got a favorite player on that club?
Brooks Robinson.
He made a good play, didn't he, a while ago?
Yeah.
Bobby Shylock, thank you so much. Right now, let's go back up to Bill and Kurt.
Thank you, Tony. And here are the Mets now in kind of a do-or-die top of the 9th inning with Ron Swoboda, their right fielder. Too low for a ball. Swoboda, a Baltimore-born and bred product and educated here. Went to Patterson Park High School. 1 ball, 1 strike. Got that breaking pitch into his letters and on the inside corner. Charles is on deck. Ed Charles. He got heat and didn't get it. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Well, I think that's the fastest pitch he's thrown in the game.
And we mentioned earlier about Cuellar, who sometimes throws 75% screwballs. There are ball games he uses the fastball even more than he does the screwball. Cuellar likes to figure that whatever his pattern is, successfully in the first few innings of the ball game, he likes to stay with. Right now, he's 2-2 to Swoboda. Cuellar's going to have to hurry his throw and won't make a throw. Cuellar probably realized that he wasn't handling the ball properly. Also realized he might have had a tight play on Swoboda. So in his haste to get to the ball and throw, he lost it completely.
Number 5.
So the Mets with life to start the top of the 9th inning. The Orioles lead the Mets 4-1.
And now the Baltimore bullpen springs into action. Rickard, a left-hander, and Watt, a right-hander, are starting to warm up.
Ed Charles now the batter. Strike one. Svoboda has been given a base hit. The left-hander to the right of the screen is Rickert. The right-hander is Watt. Powell is not holding with Svoboda. Blair has it in range in dead center field. One gone in the top of the ninth inning. We'd like to thank two fine gentlemen who have helped both Curt Gowdy and yours truly, Bill O'Donnell, in Game 1 of the World Series. Our very able statistician, Alan Roth, and also our stage manager, the very likable Jim O'Gorman. Thank you, gentlemen. Jerry Grody now, the Mets catcher. Ball one. Grody has one of the base hits off Cuellar. 4 runs, 6 hits for Baltimore, a run, 6 hits for New York. Inside corner for a ball and a strike. Grody, who not only has one of the strongest arms in the National League among their catchers, but in both leagues. Kind of a defensive swing on that screwball, and he got a piece of it. Grody with a late swing. Realized the pitch had the corner and had the late defensive cut. 1-2. Svoboda not held. Powell's playing back deep. Strike 3 is called. 8 strikeouts for Cuellar. 8 of them. Cuellar, since the All-Star game, has won 13 ball games and lost only 2. And a reminder that immediately following our ball game, stay tuned for World Series report. And World Series Game 2, followed by AFL football. That's tomorrow. Airtime, remember now, tomorrow is at 1:30. This is Art Shamsky now being brought up by Art Shamsky's on deck. This is Weiss in the batter's box, and Shamsky is on deck. Two balls, no strikes to Weiss. Hendricks and Cuellar had quite a few discussions like this during the Mets rally in the 7th inning. Cuellar facing the Met batter who has driven over the Mets' only run. Three balls, no strikes to Weiss. Four pitches, and the Mets, with 2 out, have 2 on, and that would bring the Mets with a tying run to the plate. Four walks now have been given up by Cuellar. And the pitching coach of the Orioles, George Bamberger, who visited the mound during the 7th inning, coming out again. The Orioles are continuing to warm Rickert, the left-hander, and Watt, the right-hander. That's Watt to the left and Rickert to the right. Bamberger still with Cuellar.
This is when they want that honest answer. Are you tired? We also check with the catcher, and they're satisfied, I guess. Cuellar is all ready for Art Shamsky, who was the hottest hitter for the Mets during their playoff series with Atlanta. But Gil Hodges, who's utilized his platoon system very successfully, took his left-handers out and put his right-handed hitting line.
Run to the plate. Four walks now have been given up by Cuellar. And the pitching coach of the Orioles, George Bamberger, who visited the mound during the 7th inning, coming out again. The Orioles are continuing to warm Rickert, the left-hander, and Watt, the right-hander. That's Watt to the left and Rickard to the right. Bamberger still with Cuellar.
This is when they want that honest answer. Are you tired? We also checked with the catcher, and they're satisfied, I guess. Cuellar's all ready for Art Shamsky, who was the hottest hitter for the Mets during their playoff series with Atlanta. But Gil Hodges, who's utilized his platoon system very successfully, took his left-handers out and put his right-handed hitting lineup in. But Shamsky was red hot against Atlanta.
He was indeed, Kurt. He had 7 base hits, 13 times to the plate, so that's better than 500. 2 on for the Mets, and 2 out in the top of the ninth. Pulled by the breaking ball with that golf swing. Shamsky likes to pull. And as a matter of fact, in the Oriole outfield, Blair extremely shaded to right center. Second baseman Johnson goes to first, and that's the ball game. Shamsky, batting for the pitcher, has grounded out to end game 1 of the World Series. Baltimore has been victorious by a score of 4-1. Cuellar had a shaky 7th, a shaky 9th, but pulled out of both jams. We'll have an interview along with Tony Kubek and a recap of the first game. The final score, the Orioles 4 runs, 6 hits, and no errors. The Mets 1 run, 6 hits, and 1 error.
Yes, come on.
Great samurai warrior. Why do be so unhappy?
Once have good job. Then shave with Gillette spoiler with miracle plastic coating so edge of cold steel not touch face for many shaves.
So?
No, now I'm spoiled. Never can face cold steel again.
I advise to make love, not war.
That's a good idea.
What man can resist it? The clean, crisp aroma of ocean surf. Get it in new Gillette Foamy Surf Spray Shaving Cream. A new fragrance, like the refreshing spray of a breaker. The foamy crispness of ocean whitecaps. If you've ever enjoyed the refreshing scent of ocean spray on your skin, you know what to expect in new Foamy Surf Spray by Gillette. Take the plunge today.
We're going down and meet the winning pitcher now, Mike Cuellar, and the hitting star for today's game, Don Buford, with Tony Kubek.
Thank you very much. Down here with me, Mike Cuellar. And Mike, congratulations. That was a pretty fine ball game.
Thank you very much, Tony.
What was the best pitch for you today?
I got a screwball, the best one today. You know, I feel pretty good in the first 5 innings for the first ball. But after that, I got a pretty good screwball.
Well, what about this Mets lineup now? What is your impression of the Mets lineup? What about A.G.? What about Swoboda? What about some of the other hitters?
Well, no, I tell you, all the Mets, you know, from the first one to the sixth hitter, you got to be careful with us. You know, you can hit the ball out of the park anytime. You know, you can make no mistake with it. You got to put a good ball club.
Mike, there's some managers that are saying, and baseball people saying, that they ought to bat left-handed hitters against you to take away that screwball. Does it bother you whether it's a left-handed hitter or a right-handed hitter up there?
Well, no, it don't bother me, you know, because I try to pitch it the same. To left-handed to right-handed. I use the screwball to the left-handed too. You know, that don't bother me, really don't bother me.
Mike, let's go back to just before the ball game. What kind of feelings did you have? You'd never seen the Met Ball Club before. Were you nervous? Were you on edge? You didn't have time to warm up, I know, for a while because the the president's wife, Pat Nixon, came in the party, and they kind of delayed your warm-ups. Did this affect you at all at the start of the ball game?
Well, it affected me a little bit because I know warming up, like you said, I know warming up good. I take about 5 minutes off, you know, because there's other people, so in the mountain, they can let me warming up. But anyway, you know, I don't feel little nervous, you know, little nervous, but it's nothing of it.
Mike, you had a fine ball game, and it must be quite comforting. You must feel pretty good out there when you're on the mound, when you can look behind you and see Brooks Robinson at third, Belanger at short, and some of the other players in the inning, Davey Johnson, of course, Boog Powell. Brooks made a heck of a play down on third base.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's the best third base I saw in my life, you know. That guy can really do everything. You know, he gets to the line, up to the hole, and everything. My Belanger, you know, and Dave Johnson, Boog Powell, too. You know, everybody thinks, you know, it's a good glove at that, too.
Mike Cuellar, thank you so much. Congratulations once again. We're looking forward to seeing you up in New York.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike Cuellar. Let's go on back upstairs.
Again, the final score, Baltimore 4, New York 1. In a moment, we'll continue to review the action of today's game.
This Commerce Passbook guarantees you're getting the highest savings account interest available at chartered banks in Canada, 6.5%. What can a Commerce savings account do for you? It can put you in the sun country for a week and buy you 6.5% more sun. It can let you put a ring on someone you love and buy you 6.5% more diamond. It can give you extra money to help raise a family and buy you 6.5% more peace of mind. And even if you never have to touch your account, it can buy you 6.5% more security. So what can a Commerce savings account do for you? It can buy you 6.5% more of everything. Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce, one of the world's great banks.
Don Buford invited his old college coach, Bob Dadu of USC, as his guest here at the World Series. And Tony, Don showed his old college coach how to do it today.
Certainly did. And Don, you know, that's quite a start. First time at bat in the World Series to hit a home run. 3 for 4 day. Quite a day. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Tony.
What about Tom Seaver? What about batting off him? You'd never seen him before.
Well, no, he went to the same university I did, University of Southern California, and I saw him one winter. I think I just hit against him once. But I knew he threw hard, and I had to look for the hard stuff all day, no matter what he threw. And all the reports that we had is he threw hard, and I felt that if he threw hard, that's all I could look for.
What about tomorrow and Jerry Koosman, the left-hander? Have you ever seen him before?
No, I haven't, Tony, and I understand he throws curveballs and fastballs just like Seaver, and I just hope we get off to another good start.
Don, your impressions of the Mets ball club? Of course, it's a team comprised of young players, inexperienced. They just don't give up. We've seen them in the playoffs against Atlanta. What about your impressions of this Mets ball club?
Well, Tony, I don't think they're the type of club that gives up. The only thing is, I think we got off to a good start and then scored 2 or 3 runs right there together, and I think they may have had a little letdown. But you can't say they're going to let down tomorrow. If they get off to a pretty good start, they're going to be a tough ball club.
Don Buford, congratulations once again. Have a good series. Have a good day tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Let's go on back upstairs.
We'll be back with more about the 1969 World Series and a look at tomorrow's game.
Steel Town, where the bones of Canada's growth are born, torn from a furnace as hot as the sun, spun from Canada's rock and fuel, and the skill of the men of Steel Town. They're hearty men who like their life. They're proud of the work they do, and they earn the satisfaction of seeing a tough job through. And when they relax with an ale that's bolder than the rest. Yes, O'Keefe is the hearty ale these men enjoy. O'Keefe ale satisfies best. O'Keefe ale, the right ale for right now.
Here's the way the scoring went. In the first inning, Buford led off the game for the Orioles with a home run to right. The Orioles had their big inning in the fourth with 2 out, nobody on. Hendricks singled, Johnson walked, Belanger singled, driving in Hendricks. Cuellar, the pitcher, singled, knocking in Johnson, and then Buford doubled to the right field corner, scoring Belanger. That was the end of the scoring for the Orioles. The Mets had a big threat in the 7th. Clendenon singled, Swoboda walked after Charles flied out. Roach singled. Clendenon was held up at third, the bases loaded. Weiss flied to left on a sacrifice fly, scoring Clendenon. And then the play of the ball game, Gasper was a pinch hitter, a little roller down to third. If Brooks Robinson had not handled that roller, the Mets would have had the bases loaded and Agee, a good hitter, coming up. But Robinson made a sparkling play, charging that slow hit ball, and he had 6 assists, by the way, in the game. The World Series record for a third baseman is 9. Now tomorrow, Bill O'Donnell, we have Dave McNally and Jerry Koosman, 2 left-handers going. How do you size those 2 up?
Well, Kurt, I think that Koosman probably has the better fastball. I think from what I've seen of McNally probably has the better curveball. McNally in the last 2 years has also picked up a pretty good slider. Like we had today, we have two outstanding starters. Koosman won 17, almost matched Seaver. And McNally had his second straight 20 victory year. He won 20 ball games as opposed to 22. And as I'm sure you remember, he won his first 15 ball games this year before the Twins beat him.
It was rather a tame game outside of the play by Brooks Robinson in third. There weren't many other exciting plays in the game. Baltimore was in command. So Cuellar's the winner. Seaver's the loser. Buford with a home run and a double and 2 RBIs was the batting star of the game, and Brooks Robinson the fielding star. Tomorrow, though, is another day, and we'll be on the air with Game 2 at 1:30 Eastern Daylight Time. Curt Gowdy and Bill O'Donnell, hoping you enjoyed the opening game of the 1969 World Series. This game is authorized.
Be sure to join us tomorrow as the New York Mets meet the Baltimore Orioles for game number 2 in the 1969 World Series. World Series Baseball has been a CBC Sports color presentation in association with NBC. This is the CBC Television Network.